economy, innovation, culture, exploration. Discover the vibrant pulse of China's economy and dive into the rich tapestry of its culture. Embark on a journey of exploration with Meet China. Here, your journey begins.
Hello and welcome to Meet China. I'm Lulu. In today's episode, we'll meet some diligent Chinese people whose wisdoms not only transformed their own lives, but also made contributions to regional or even global industries. We will first start with an innovative farming method in Wuhe County, and then we'll look into the thriving violin making industry in Huangqiao Town. And finally, we'll look into China's remarkable achievements in battling land degradation. We start our first story in a vibrant paddy field with its little inhabitants, crabs. This innovative method of raising crabs in paddies has making double harvest and transforming the fortune of local farmers. By harnessing modern technologies, this approach raises efficiency, optimizes resources, and showcases that sustainability can drive prosperity.
Crabs left the water and moved in to rice paddies, building their new homes. But why? I hopped on a boat with Yu Xiaoyong, a local fisherman with over 40 years of experience, to find out why these two species live together.
We make full use of the rice paddies and their growing conditions. On one hand, the crabs help control pests, and their waste fertilizes the soil, boosting rice growth. On the other hand, the paddies provide a cool, safe environment for the crabs to thrive, and plenty of food to eat.
During the day, the crabs rest in the water, but at night, they come out to forage. When it's cool, they're out swimming in the water. When the sun is strong, they head for the shade of the rice plants. The rice crab symbiosis increases the efficiency of land and water use. That means healthier crabs, better rice, and a double harvest for everyone. This rice crab symbiosis farming method is taking place in Wuhe County, once the poorest county in Anhui Province. Wuhe means 5 rivers in Chinese, and here the use of water resources is key to improving the lives of the local people. Wuhe County now primarily operates through cooperatives or companies, using technology to fully manage and digitally operate large-scale rice shrimp and rice crab integrated farming.
We can remotely monitor water temperature and oxygen levels. When I noticed the oxygen level dropped below the 5 milligram set point, I simply tapped my phone to turn it on. Additionally, we have real-time monitoring with 360-degree coverage and no blind spots.
Using technology has greatly increased productivity and reduced the workload. You told me that one person can manage about 15 acres of land. His daily tasks simply involve feeding the fish and planting grass.
I joined the company last year. From being a fisherman, I now work here as a clerk. My income has nearly doubled, from just over 2,000 yuan a month to 4,000.
These delicious sweet crabs are also on a bigger adventure as they are shipped all over the country. People from all over China come to taste them too.
We came here just to eat crabs. They're so sweet and the crab roe is really dense.
Seeing the potential, Huang Yuezong, General Manager of Anhui Runbo Agricultural Technology, expanded the business into tourism. Take farmhouse restaurants, for example. Huang didn't stop there. He also developed the deep processing industry for organic rice, creating new opportunities for the community.
The rice crab integrated farming model has extended the industrial chain, transitioning from agriculture to a full-scale industry.
Huang shared that 6 years ago, he was a senior executive at a beer company. When he left that life to start his own business, his salary was slashed by half, but he is determined.
We are definitely on track for a promising future. The villagers' wages doubled. People could now access high-quality, eco-friendly food. The local environment improved.
Thanks to people like Huang, who put in the effort to make a difference, locals and visitors like me can now enjoy this beautiful scenery, reconnect with nature, male and female, so cute, and savor its delicacies. This once impoverished county, now powered by its 5 rivers, thrives in various industries.
The violin is one of the most beloved musical instruments with its roots traced back in Europe. But here's a surprising fact. About a third of the world's violins come from a small Chinese town called Huangqiao Town in East China's Jiangsu province. Unlike in Europe, Huangqiao has its very unique industrial cluster and its very diligent people. Now let's explore this town and understand why is town worthy of the name the Cremona of the East.
Making a violin takes about 200 steps. Each requires technical details and precision.
I need over 100 tools and all of them will be used. The curve is critical. Look, it's more flat in the middle. The curvature would change the thickness and brightness of the violin's sound.
Liu Zhijun, a national-level violin maker, meticulously works in his studio in Huangqiao Town, East China's Jiangsu province.
I grew up in a rural area. A friend of my father's brought me to a music instrument factory in Suzhou. Later, another friend introduced me to study in the Shanghai Conservatory of Music and officially began my violin-making career.
Which is the most precious violin you've made?
This was my first creation, made in 1990. I made it step-by-step alongside my teacher at the music academy. Although the craftsmanship wasn't very mature at that time, I found it incredibly valuable. Many people wanted to buy it, but I couldn't part with it.
Liu's journey to Huangqiao was a fate strung in melody. This town, with some 200,000 population, is one of the biggest violin production hubs in the world. As an instrument originating in the West, the mass production of violins has undergone several major industrial relocations. Moving from Germany in the late 19th to early 20th century to Japan and South Korea, it then spread to China in cities like Shanghai and Guangzhou before arriving in Huangqiao Town in the 1960s and 70s. In the 1960s, Huangqiao manufactured violin components. In 1972, the first violin entirely produced in Huangqiao was born. In 1985, the local branch of Shanghai Violin Factory was founded here. In the 1990s, Huangqiao violins began to tap into overseas markets. Hence, the town saw the founding of several instrument factories, allowing some 30,000 farmers to leave the fields and become workers. And that was when Liu Zhijun was hired as a technical consultant at a local violin factory.
When I first arrived at Huangqiao, the factory technology was outdated, and my high standards were hard for the workers to accept. Today, the factories are thriving with skilled technicians. A key factor in this improvement is that many have sought external knowledge, bringing in academically trained violin makers. That has elevated mid to high-end production and rapidly advanced manufacturing technology.
Since China's entry into the WTO in 2001, Huangqiao's violins have evolved into a full-fledged industry. Today, about 70% of China's and more than 30% of the world's violins come from here. Fengling Musical Instruments is one of the world's largest violin producers. Some of its products were endorsed by China's best violinists.
Currently, 65% of our products are exported. In the past, 99% of our products were OEMs with private labels. Now, our own brands account for 35% to 40%. Due to the challenging external environment, our revenue has come down. Prior to 2022, we were generating sales of 250 to 260 million yuan.
So growth like this resulted into the creation of more than 200 component and supporting businesses along the supply chain. And that transforms the entire Huangqiao Town into a large-scale assembling line. So this is the main road right outside the old Fengling factory. If you walk down this road, you can see many self-building houses. They might look quite unassuming from the outside, but behind the doors are many violin workshops. And that's the case in this area, around 2 to 3 square kilometers.
In contrast to mass production factories, Liu Zhijing crafts only 10 to 20 violins each year. In 2001, after a decade as technical supervisor, he ventured out to start his own business, establishing one of the earliest violin-making studios in Huangqiao. His goal was to create performance violins using traditional handcrafted methods, selling them for several thousand to tens of thousands of yuan. Today, there are dozens of independent studios in the area that specialized in handcrafted methods, creating higher-end violins. These studios enhance Huangqiao's violin industry portfolio, while also benefiting from the town's growing reputation as a global hub for violin production, which boosts their credibility and sales opportunities. But like any business starter, the beginning was particularly hard. Luckily, Liu Zhijing had some dependable help.
He has too much work on his hand. I learned from him and helped share some of the workload.
You really feel for a husband.
Yes, yes.
When we first started our business together, she worked so hard that she injured her wrist. She was just putting in too much effort at that time.
What are your hopes for the next generation?
When I was learning to make violins in Shanghai, we could watch performances of international orchestras. Seeing those violinists with such artistic flair made me want my child to be like them.
Liu Zhijing's hopes were not only realized, but exceeded. His son, Liu Lan, born in 1993, not only learned to play the violin, but also chose to join his father on the challenging journey of handcrafting violins.
Of course, my father had a significant influence on me. I've watched him work all the time, which sparked my interest. Learning it was quite contradictory. There were many data points that needed to be standardized. However, after making something and receiving positive feedback from professional teachers, it felt really rewarding.
Liu Lan started live streaming sales from the workshop 2 to 3 years ago. In a live streaming room on social media Douyin, he would perform, chat with fans, and post videos.
He said this means more than selling violins.
Anyone can join my live streaming sessions, where I've connected with many violin teachers and parents. Their feedback has been invaluable. For instance, teachers have shared what students want in strings. This helps me identify issues and make improvements. It's been a rewarding experience.
The arrival of the digital era not only provides second-generation Huangqiao luthiers like Liu Lan to explore new market opportunities, but also helps to address the problem of labor shortage in local instrument factories. After all, violin making is a labor-intensive task and often does not attract young people. But this is where technological innovation comes into play.
This intelligent production line manages the spray painting process for most violins crafted in Huangqiao. Built in 2023, it features centralized wastewater and emission management. The Green Island Intelligent and Eco-Friendly Instrument Service Treatment Center represents a tens of millions of yuan investment from the local government.
By introducing Omega's spray painting system, we have significantly reduced labor painting and waste costs. At the same time, while increasing production capacity, we've improved the treatment of wastewater, waste gas, and waste residue, gradually achieving compliance with pollutant discharge standards. Previously, our production capacity was 3,000 units per month, but now with the fully automated spraying system, we have reached 30,000 units per month.
Huangqiao Town aspires to become the Cremona of the East. inspired by the Italian city, famous for exceptional violin making and highly skilled luthiers. To achieve this, both technological advancement and the preservation of tradition are equally essential. And one cherished tradition in Liu's family is hosting small family concerts from time to time. Liu Lang's older son, now in 3rd grade, has learned playing the violin for 2 years, and his younger brother is displaying a budding sense of rhythm and musicality. Liu Lang hopes that one day the boys would also develop some luthier skills. What we also endure is the bond between a Western musical instrument and the Chinese town, with tales of hard-working souls, where the heart of family and the magic of music comes to life.
Parts of China were once severely plagued by desertification, but now this ecological predicament has been transformed. Today, China is the first country in the world to achieve zero growth in land degradation. So what is the strategy for transforming sands into valuable resources? Join us as we journey to Ulaanbaatar in Inner Mongolia.
This is what living in the desertified areas looks like. Very little rainfall, hard for farming, sand everywhere, all the time. It's difficult and challenging, sometimes made even more so by human actions.
The desert is a natural landscape formed naturally during geological history. It could be ancient, possibly tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even tens of millions of years old. However, desertification refers to vegetation degradation caused by the unreasonable or excessive use of natural resources by humans. Deserts were formed before humans came into being, and humans need to coexist peacefully with them. But desertification is caused by humans. It is closely related to the living environment of humans, and it has an impact on all aspects of human production and life. The agricultural development here is mainly along the Yellow River, and it is in the upper reaches of the Yellow River. When the northwest wind blows to the desert is then pushed towards the agricultural areas and farmland in the form of wind-borne sand, which therefore has a very big impact on agricultural production. On the other hand, if the desert sand moves quickly, over a long distance or in certain areas, it will flow into the river, causing siltation of the Yellow River, which will deeply affect the developing of water resources along the Yellow River, and might even cause floods and other disasters.
In China, the desertified area is more than 2 million square kilometers. To stop desertification, it takes more than one man. A lot more than one man. How exactly is this done? I talked to Yu Yi. He is the inventor of the biodegradable polylactic acid sand barrier technology. This technology is the secret behind China's remarkable achievements in managing the sand.
Polylactic acid sand barriers are completely biodegradable and can now be mass-produced industrially. They stick to the ground very well and have a good structure.
He told me the fiber of the polylactic acid sand barriers is the same as absorbable surgical sutures. It is biodegradable, less waste, less pollution, no harm done.
Stacking them like this makes the sand barrier more stable. The sand barrier itself has a certain weight, which makes it stick more firmly to the ground.
This new type of sand barrier technology, which uses the sand itself, is said to have several advantages. Compared to the traditional sand barriers, the new ones are more convenient to be transported. It is also easier to put them together. They last longer and are more environment-friendly. They make desertification control more easily industrialized and scalable. The Experimental Center of Forestry in North China at the Chinese Academy of Forestry has been promoting for the implementation of this technology in Inner Mongolia, hoping to broaden its implementation in places where desertification control is necessary. And just as we were talking about this, our crew saw something we weren't expecting: sand gecko. This cute little creature reminds me of the fact that managing the sand is not only important to humans, but also to the survival of other species.
This is desert sage. You can eat it. After the seeds mature, they can be collected, separated, and ground into flour to make noodles.
So the sand barrier can help these plants grow back in the desert.
Yes, they can reproduce naturally.
Wang Tiekun was in charge of the sand barrier demonstration project in the Ulaanbaatar Desert. He said they picked this place because it lacks rainfall and water. The extreme environment made them see clearly how the PLA sand barrier performed.
4 or 5 years have passed since the project was launched, and the results are pretty staggering. People can clearly see the changes brought by putting in the PLA sand barriers combined with growing the Caligonum. So today, they are therefore more confident about successful sand prevention and control.
That confidence is warranted. China used to face severe desertification. Actually, it was one of the worst impacted countries in the world. But now China has become the first country to achieve land degradation neutrality. It is a target recognized by the United Nations Convention to combat desertification to address land degradation and its adverse effects on ecosystems, livelihoods, and biodiversity. It is consistent with the UN's 2030 agenda. China is a vivid example of success for others.
This is the tamarisk. It is very drought tolerant. We planted these ourselves, and they will help stabilize the sand when they grow.
So you're also working on this?
Of course. How can we not protect our own home?
Yes, I agree. How can we not protect our own home? I was limited in my thinking. When I first thought of managing the sand, I thought of turning deserts into oases, but that wasn't the case. Desert is part of nature, it's natural. Desertification is not, and that's what we need to manage. Living in the desert is indeed harsher than you think. My shoes can vouch for that. So, this is what the weather in the desert can do to you. The bottom of my shoe just fell off, and this one is almost there. It's gonna be there. So, it is hard. Making a home here takes more than sentiment. It takes the ability to make use of everything around you. For this couple, where they live is their advantage. What's your vision for your homestay plan?
Here it's more convenient for the traffic. It'd be easier for the guests to find us, and we're planning to put several yurts around.
As we travel west from the Ulaanbaatar Desert, fields and fields of solar panels blanket the land. And when I say blanket, I mean the no and inside kind of blanketing.
China used to mainly employ fossil fuel to generate electricity, the so-called thermal power generation. As China transitions to green development, we are seeing the growth of clean energy, like the solar panels or wind-generated electricity.
And if you look closely behind him and around us, you will see something familiar, the PLA sand barriers we saw earlier. I was told that the sand barriers can help maintain the stability of the solar panels. Without the sand barriers, the wind will blow away the sand around the base of the panels, which will then sink, become destabilized, and might even collapse.
Photovoltaic is low carbon energy and clean. So is the PLA sand barriers. Their complementary effect makes them perfect partners. It's innovative and can also help us achieve carbon peak and carbon neutrality.
The wind is blowing the sand all over the place, and I'm still standing on the edge of a desert, and I cannot speak without eating a mouthful of sand. But even in this kind of environment, I see PV panels and the PLA sand barriers that are being built. This is how people in the desert coexist with their environment. They are turning what nature gives them into something that they can prosper on, and they are making progress. That progress includes creating opportunities for the local people.
Through ecological management, we can grow cash crops. We work with the local people. We provide the field, they grow the crops, harvest them, and then sell them in the market as an addition to their income from herding, thus enabling a sustainable cycle of ecological management.
So you mean herdsmen can plant crops here?
Yes, they can grow cash crops like licorice or other crops which can adapt to the environment.
It is said that the livestock can also graze on the vegetation. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Sheep and cows munching under solar panels in the middle of a desert. But then again, decades ago, it had been hard for people in the desert to imagine their lives beyond repairing what was damaged by the sand. Now, look at how far they've come and the possibilities the future holds. And that's something I've seen throughout this journey. Conditions change, so do people. Kids leave parents for school. Neighbors move to better houses. Homes may be uprooted by the sand. What's constant is that for the people here, sand is part of them and their lives. At times, it may be challenging, but they, in their own ways, try to manage it and build a life with what nature gives them.
And with that, I'm wrapping up today's Meet China. In next week's episode, we will continue to explore the journeys of the fascinating people shaping this vibrant country. I'm Lily Lu, and I can't wait to see you next week.
Discover the potential. Witness the opportunities. Experience dazzling exhibitions and captivating events. Explore groundbreaking innovations and future-shaping industries. Stand at the crossroads where the cities of tomorrow meet timeless traditions. Meet China, where every story is a new discovery.
This presentation was paid for by CGTN. The opinions, views, and claims expressed are those of CGTN and may not necessarily reflect those of CNBC.